You can't really know someone from watching their YouTube videos because you're only hearing them elaborate on a specific subject for a short amount of time. It's just not comparable to spending extended periods with them in real life where different aspects of their character, including flaws, will inevitably show themselves. But if anyone wants to know what my flaws are, they need only ask. Thinking through one's own flaws is an interesting exercise because there are those aspects of your character that are like a double-edged sword. For example, I have a very low tolerance for anything I perceive to be dubious behaviour, and so I can be pretty reactionary. Now, on the one hand, that can lead to me making hasty judgments, shooting first and asking questions later, but on the other hand, it's also the reason I lead a very peaceful life. I see others that are constantly miserable and having to deal with drama precisely because they don't deal with dubious behaviour as decisively as they should. So on balance, this aspect of my character is probably a net positive. But then there are those aspects of my personhood that are undeniably negative. I can be neglectful of my spiritual life when I get busy. I can be very unfocused. I can be insensitive to the feelings of others because I just don't like people reveling in their emotions. I don't think it's useful, and I have little patience for it. I'm also prone to lashing out in anger, not physically, but verbally, and I can sometimes say things that I don't mean in the heat of the moment. Now, there are many that would say that such flaws are minor, but the reason I chose to highlight them is to make the opposite case, because while it's true that such flaws are relatively minor, the longer you live, the more you come to experience just how much damage they can do. I've made a great many mistakes in my time, and I've hurt a lot of people when I wasn't even trying to. So my transgressions may be minor by comparison, but I don't take them any less seriously for that. By this point, you may have realised that the title of this video is somewhat sarcastic. But the reason I've never presented myself as a moral example to follow or even emphasised morality in my book or on this channel is not just because I have self-awareness, it's actually because of a far larger issue. The vast majority of those that accept the existence of God will agree that He is not only perfect, but perfection itself. So when we talk about drawing closer to God, we're talking about drawing closer to the perfect. On what basis do we do that? If it's to be on the basis of our righteousness, then we will surely all fall short. And this is an issue that the Apostle Paul spends a great deal of time wrestling with in his New Testament letters. And the Christian answer to this dilemma is that rather than relying on our own inadequate righteousness for our salvation, we must instead place our trust in the perfect righteousness of Christ and Him crucified. Now, here on this channel, I've spent a great deal of time explaining why I think that certain mainstream Christian understandings are wrong, but I really think that this particular understanding may be Christianity's greatest contribution to spiritual thought. It's not that you can't find similar ideas within other religious traditions, it's just that they tend to be found in the more obscure mystic branches of those traditions. There is no religion that emphasises the insufficiency of our own righteousness more overtly than Christianity, and the older I get, the more I appreciate and come to understand the profundity of that. However, whenever this issue is raised, it's necessary to emphasize that acknowledging our moral imperfection does not mean that we should just stop trying. In this lifetime, I will almost certainly never know the truth behind so many of the great mysteries that concern me, but that doesn't mean I should stop seeking it. In the same way, while moral perfection may be beyond us, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive to be the best that we can be. And remember the words of the Apostle Paul, God is not mocked, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap. In other words, you're not going to get away with abusing the grace of God. As I've been saying for years, God is the only one who can judge us, and He guides us through our conscience. That conscience could be compared to the star that the three wise men are said to have followed the baby Jesus. Sometimes it becomes obscured by the clouds of our mind and emotions and we lose our way, and sometimes we may even trip and fall. But no matter what happens, we have to get up, dust ourselves off, and continue to follow that star. If we can honestly say that we're being true to our conscience, then we can forgive ourselves for our inevitable failures, and it won't even matter if the whole world disagrees with the decisions that we make, because we know that we're doing all that we can do to be pleasing to God while living out this human experience. I can't think of better words to conclude this video with than those written by the Apostle Paul, himself a man highly aware of his flaws on this very subject. Our boast is this, the testimony of our conscience, that we behaved in the world with godly simplicity, not by earthly wisdom, but by the grace of God, and supremely so towards you.